TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donations. Shalom and good evening. This is TV7 Israel News broadcast to you from Jerusalem. And in today's top stories, Israel remains committed to the objectives of the war versus the Islamist Hamas in the Gaza Strip. Jerusalem stresses that its military presence in Syria will be maintained with security guarantees for the residents of northern Israel and southern Syria. Damascus requests Moscow extradite former President Bashar al-Assad to Syria. Israel remains committed to the outline of the U.S.-brokered ceasefire and hostage release arrangement, while in parallel, Jerusalem also remains unyieldingly determined to fulfill its war objectives vis-à-vis the Hamas-plagued Gaza Strip. U.S. President Donald Trump's special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, met with Prime Minister PM Netanyahu earlier today, during the course of which they deliberated the situation in the Gaza Strip, particularly in relation to the second stage of the ceasefire's outline, in addition to other regional matters. Witkoff arrived in Israel last night after he concluded a trip to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where discussions focused on a comprehensive deal in the Middle East that would include the implementation of the second stage of the ceasefire agreement, Gaza's reconstruction, and a pathway to normalization. Meanwhile, Arab countries have relayed to the U.S. administration that President Donald Trump's expressed aspiration to relocate Palestinians from the Gaza Strip to both Egypt and Jordan would essentially hamper his aspirations to bring about normalization between Israel and additional Arab countries as part of the Abraham Accords. Moreover, they also warned that such a move could hamper the stability of Jordan and Egypt. However, while touring the Egyptian side of the Rafah border crossing with the Gaza Strip, the governor of the Egyptian northern Sinai Peninsula stressed that Cairo does not view the absorption of Palestinians as an Egyptian interest because it could effectively end the Palestinian struggle against the State of Israel.
Actually, we rejected this, but this is not a personal. This is from the Egyptian president and from everyone, every citizen in Egypt. It's not acceptable to move the people from their land to the Egyptian territory, because the Palestinian case will be lost, and this is not our goal. This is not an international goal. But let me say that if any American announces something, it has to go through the Congress. Yeah. So it's just an announcement, and he said that he is going to talk to our president, and I think it didn't happen yet.
It is important to highlight that President Donald Trump formally invited Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for a meeting at the White House, stressing, quote, "It will be my honor to host you as my first foreign leader during my second term." Prime Minister Netanyahu is expected to leave for Washington on Sunday, meet with President Donald Trump on Tuesday, and return to Israel on Thursday of next week. Turning to the Golan Heights, where Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz visited IDF troops deployed on the strategic Syrian peak of Mount Hermon, during the course of which he received a situational assessment of the current state of affairs in the security zone that Israel had established following the fall of the Assad regime. And while the al-Qaeda-linked Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, or HTS, is proactively seeking to consolidate its power in Damascus, its refusal to accept prerequisites from local Syrian communities and repeated statements of malign intent versus Israel have brought about an Israeli decision to maintain a defensive posture over territories which could threaten both the State of Israel and the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan.
I came here to make sure that the IDF is well prepared in defense and offense for an extended deployment in the Mount Hermon positions. The IDF will remain on the Hermon's Peak and in the security zone for an unlimited time to guarantee security for the communities of the Golan Heights and the North and all residents of the State of Israel. We will not return to a reality of October 7th, and we will not depend on others for our defense here or everywhere else.
Jerusalem's top defense official further stressed that Israel remains committed to protect the Druze minority of Syria, which amounts to approximately 1.2 million residents.
לא נאפשר לכוחות עוינים להתבסס...
We will not allow hostile forces to establish themselves in the security zone in southern Syria from here all the way to the Sway to Damascus artery M5, and we will act against any threat.
עם אוכלוסיות ידידותיות במרחב...
We maintain ties with friendly populations in the sector in good neighborly relations, with an emphasis on the large Druze population that has a close historical and family connections with our Druze brothers who are citizens of Israel, to whom the state of Israel is primarily committed.
מחויבת בראש ובראשונה.
It is important to know that while the United States has not succumbed to Qatari and Turkish pressures related to sanctions relief for the internationally designated jihadist terror group Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, the European Union, during a foreign ministerial on Monday, decided to act towards limited sanctions relief after EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas met with Turkish Foreign Minister Hakan Fidan to deliberate Ankara's perceived merits for such a move.
Developments in the Middle East were also high on the agenda. Today we reached the political agreement to begin easing sanctions on Syria. This could give a boost to Syrian economy and help the country get back on its feet. While we aim to move fast, we also are ready to reverse the course if the situation worsens. And in parallel, we will scale up humanitarian aid and recovery efforts.
Prior to the vote, French Foreign Minister Jean-Noël Barrot noted that sanctions relief for Damascus would be limited to certain sectors, while German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock stressed that while easing of sanctions is a message of hope, Damascus must comprehend that the EU will not be a financial backer of new extremists, terrorists, or Islamist structures.
Qui s'applique au secteur de l'énergie.
Certain sanctions that apply to the energy and transport sectors and to financial institutions, and that are hampering the financial stabilization of the country and the start of the reconstruction process.
Et le démarrage du processus de reconstruction.
Wir wollen, dass die Menschen in Syrien wieder Strom haben.
We want people in Syria to have electricity again, so that they can get the economy back on its feet, and we want to support this. And at the same time, I have just made it clear on the ground that this also requires a political process. This is not a blank check, which is why we will not lift other sanctions. And we have also made it clear that the EU will not be a financial backer of new extremist, terrorist, or Islamist structures. The two aspects are closely linked. And 50 days later, it is still not clear what the future will hold.
Earlier today, a Russian delegation met with the jihadist Syrian regime in Damascus to discuss the latter's relations with Moscow as it aspires to maintain its military bases in Latakia and Tartus.
It is an important trip. These are important contacts, because it is necessary to build and to maintain a constant dialogue with Syrian authorities, which what we do and what we will continue to do.
According to circulating reports citing HTS officials, during the negotiations with the Russian officials, the de facto rulers of Damascus requested of Moscow to provide the al-Qaeda-linked group with compensation, as they put it, for the purpose of restoring confidence. Moreover, the new jihadist rulers of Damascus have also demanded that Russia hand over the former Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. Asked whether these reports were accurate, the Kremlin spokesman noted the following.
No, I leave it without any comment. We will continue a dialogue with Syrian authorities.
While Moscow remains determined to preserve its military presence along Syria's western coastline, it is also working to deepen its strategic relations with the Islamic Republic of Iran, which has increasingly found its malign strategies falter in the face of Israel's qualitative military edge. The latest efforts to double down on efforts to deepen their strategic ties were enshrined in a document on January 17th, when President Vladimir Putin and his Iranian counterpart Masoud Pezeshkian met in Moscow.
The partnership treaty that was signed today opens a new chapter in relations between Iran and Russia in all spheres, especially in trade and economic cooperation. I am confident that this treaty, which has been drawn up on the basis of areas of mutual interest, will create new pathways for expansion of new and bright horizons in collaboration between Russia and Iran. The most important area of the Russian-Iranian cooperation is energy. The flagship joint project for the construction of 2 new units of the Bushehr NPP by Rosatom is moving forward. Its implementation will certainly make a significant contribution to strengthening Iran's energy security, stimulate further growth of the national economy, provide Iranian households and industrial enterprises with inexpensive and environmentally friendly electricity.
It is important to highlight that the deepening relations between Russia and Iran are being closely monitored by Israel, the United States, and other Western powers, as the Islamic Republic continues to deliver Russia with advanced drones for its war in Ukraine, while Russia assists Iran in a variety of dual-use components that are also transferred by the Islamic Republic to its regional axis of proxies. Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to thank all of you who proactively support TV7 Israel. TV7 Israel is a non-profit ministry with all of our productions exclusively reliant on monthly donations. Therefore, if you're blessed by the content of our programs, I would like to encourage you to support TV7 Israel with a donation. You can do so via our website at www.tv7israelnews.com. Separately, I'd like to also encourage you, pray for the peace of Jerusalem and salvation of Israel. I'm Jonathan Essen, wishing you an Erev Mevorach. God willing, we will see you during our next update. Until then, Shalom from Jerusalem.